Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. We're going to cover a couple of stories today, but the main focus of today's story is the revocation of the pro-Palestinian protest of Muhammad Khalil. Now, he's a Palestinian graduate student at Columbia University and has raised significant concerns. Khalil, legally residing in the U.S. and married to a U.S. citizen, was detained without clear charges alleging for participation in anti-Israel protests. Now, the incident highlights a troubling shift in immigration enforcement, where illegal immigrants are now under scrutiny for their political activists. Of course, a lot of civil rights groups argue that such actions violate First Amendment rights and set a dangerous precedent for freedom of speech and assembly in the United States. So we're going to go over some of the immigration policies, some of the immigration laws, so we can better define, is this legal under law what President Trump is doing? Because this may set the benchmark of how he go about deporting legal immigrants and green card holders, and see how that may transpire throughout American civil rights laws and how that may violate immigration laws that we have in this country. But we're going to cover that somewhat in the middle of the broadcast. So let's get right into some of the hot news stories that I know you guys turning your heads to. So now, as we're looking at Ukraine, and American officials have commenced peace talks in Saudi Arabia, aiming to end Russia's 3-year war against Ukraine. Now, these discussions occur in the shadow of Ukraine's largest drone offensive on Russian soil. So as peace talks or ceasefire talks are occurring in Saudi Arabia, with Russian officials as well as Ukrainian officials and American officials, Ukraine has commenced one of their largest drone attacks on Russia. Now, in these attacks, I believe there was only like 3 people killed nonetheless. But again, they're still full at war, no matter the ceasefire talks or the peace talks. Now, these talks were attended by U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio and Ukrainian diplomats focused on establishing sustainable peace frameworks. And a lot of the proposals included security guarantees, a ceasefire in the Black Sea, and the release of prisoners. Now, additionally, discussions may involve agreements on Ukraine's rare earth minerals, though the primary emphasis remains on resolving the ongoing conflict. And here's just a quick news story of essentially what has occurred already in Russia of the largest Ukrainian drone attack.
Later, it was very loud. Everyone got up to see what happened. We heard that many more drones were flying to the center of Moscow, about 6 or 7 of them, getting further and further. After that, we saw that a window in our kitchen was broken.
I heard a loud roaring.
So basically, a great time not to be home. But as I stated before, on both sides, innocent civilians are being harmed. And who's footing the bill for this? The United States of America. That's the only reason why this is important to the United States of America, because we are footing the bill. All those drones that Ukraine has that they have is either our drones, our technology, or our money they pay for. So again, we are highly involved in this war against Russia that we don't want to be a part of, because it's costing us billions and billions of dollars. Almost sound like Trump when you say billions and billions and billions of dollars. But it has nonetheless, okay? But let's look at something that I think that you guys may find very, very interesting here.
Bill and Salman, peace talks with Ukraine set for tomorrow. It'll be the first time Ukraine is included in peace talks with Russia and the U.S. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are struggling to prevent a serious military setback in Russia's Kursk region. Let's bring in ABC News national security and defense analyst.
All right, I want to jump right to the green card holder dealing with illegal immigration. I want to jump right to this because Trump promises to deport immigrants for their foreign policy views. So is this violating freedom of speech? Now, and again, illegal immigrants, in my opinion, and according to law, shouldn't have any rights in the United States of America. 0 rights. But Muhammad Khalil is not an illegal immigrant. He is a legal green card holder. So I think we need to get into some of the laws that govern this. which is should be very important to everyone. Again, can laws change? Absolutely. But should we be violating the law? Should the president be violating the law? Okay. And again, as my disclaimer, I'm not a Democrat, Republican, or independent. I'm just giving you guys the truth. Because the recent expansion of deportation policies raises critical questions about protections afforded to those green card holders and foreign students in the U.S. historically. Lawful permit residents and students have certain safeguards against deportation, primarily if they adhere to legal and visa requirements. But however, the Trump administration approach blurs the lines between undocumented illegal and legal immigrants, because these activities, such as participating in protests or expressing particular political views, could now be grounds for detention or deportation. So again, this shift needs to be reevaluated of the legal protections and the rights of these individuals within the United States of America. Why is this important? Because violations of our laws could start with legal immigration. It could start with illegal immigration, blurring the lines, this changing the whole landscape of how we look at United States laws in America. It could start with legal immigration, and we should not be violating any of those things. So if we look at some of these, and I could pop this up if you guys want to see some visuals, but nonetheless, when we look at the Immigration and Nationality Act, also known as the INA, Title 8 U.S. Code 1101, the INA is the foundation of the immigration law in America. And this is your primary legal weapon defining exactly who qualifies as a lawful permanent resident, how green cards are issued, renewed, and maintained, and what rights and responsibilities that people have once you get a green card. And those rights, they have the right to live and work permanently in the United States. They have travel privileges, rights to sponsor certain family members, and eligible for naturalization. Of course, they can become citizens after meeting, certain criteria. But the INA specifically, okay, again, Immigration and Nationality Act, specifically sections 237 and 240 of this act defines grounds for deportation and protects people's right to due process. It sets a clear guideline for the circumstances under which a green card holder might face removal and guarantees your right to a fair immigration hearing. So yes, U.S. law offers serious protections for green card holders. It gives them serious protections if you are a green card holder. But, there's always a but in American law. This is a big but nonetheless, because those protections are not bulletproof. Because again, we leave a lot of latitude and longitude in in our American laws, a lot of those white areas and gray areas. But the big but is particularly since the Patriot Act of 2001 and the subsequent laws under different presidential administrations, the rights of green card holders can feel precarious in practice because historically administrators have flexed executive powers, often controversial, over green card holders in moments of political panic or national crisis. And I want you guys to think about post 9/11. I want you guys to think about post 9/11 because rights on paper versus enforcement in reality can vary dramatically depending on who's in the Oval Office and the political climate. Now, as I told you guys before, Section 237 of the INA maps out the grounds for deportation. Okay, it lays out clear, specific reasons the U.S. government could initiate removal proceedings against green card holders. And here's a powerful breakdown for you guys. This is the biggest pitfall for green card holders. If they have felonies, right? Murder, rape, drug trafficking, fraud involving more than $10,000 theft or burglary with imprisonment over a year, violent crimes, firearm offensives, child pornography, you name it. Crimes involving moral turpitude, fraud, theft, domestic violence, DUI causing injury, and offensive involving dishonesty or harm. Committing these within 5 years of admission and punishable by at least 1 year in prison. Controlled substance violation, drug-related crimes, possession, drug trafficking, even marijuana in states where it's legal can lead to deportation. They have all of these immigration violations that's dealing with marriage fraud, which is very big in the immigrant community. Because again, he is married to a U.S. citizen. Muhammad Khalil is married to a U.S. citizen. They will be investigating that. They didn't say it publicly, but they will be investigating that. And again, this is when you're talking about marriage fraud for green card holders, legal immigrants, this is based upon marrying solely to evade immigration laws. Okay. You also have document fraud or falsification, lying or misrepresentation during immigration applications or processes, smuggling other aliens, economic or public charge issues. And we're going to get to the nooks and crannies of this because becoming dependent on public assistance, welfare, soon after admission may trigger deportation. How in the hell do they allow illegal immigrants to tap into our welfare system then? If these are covered under the immigration law, again, this is some of the things that the Republicans were mapping out, that they were violating constitutional law and the immigration laws in America. Because as a legal permanent resident, green card holder, after you get your admission, your green card, you can't just automatically file for welfare. SNAP and CHIP and all these other programs that gives benefits and money to people who are not for people who are not native to the country. Now, here's the big kicker. Engaging in espionage, sabotage, terrorism, or posing security threats. Last but not least, participating in activities harmful to U.S. foreign policy. That's one of those, in the military, we'll say that's a General Article 134. That's one of those catch-all phrases. We're just going to catch it all. If you participate in activities that's harmful to U.S. foreign policy, you are speaking on a college campus publicly, which is an activity that's speaking pro-Palestinian and what we deem, the U.S. government, what we deem anti-Semitic tropes against Israel, which is one of our strongest allies, that is hurting our foreign relation, thus violates foreign policy. They didn't say that. I'm just giving you guys the law and how it may be interpreted. This is not me being smart. I'm not really a smart guy. I'm just a very knowledgeable guy. But when you can break it down, it's very easy. Just connect. The dots are there. Just connect them. Because I want you guys to think about something else here. The Department of Homeland Security has repurposed a cell phone app initially designed for asylum applications into a tool for facilitating voluntary deportation. And the app is called the CBP Home, allows individuals living illegally in the U.S. to declare their intent to leave the country involuntarily. But a lot of the permanent residents, a lot of the green card holders, if you're speaking out in any sort of matter, we have laws with loopholes and the way that it can be interpreted in and out of context, you can get yourself deported. You can get yourself deported. Yes, green card holders, permanent residents, they have protections under the constitutions. But we have a lot of buts. The Patriot Act, we have a lot of buts. Espionage, violent crimes, marriage fraud. Again, we can trump up anything we want. You get that? We can trump up anything that we want. If you're doing something that is unpleasant or we deem that violates foreign policies. Because Donald Trump, President Trump, he emphasized that his administration commitment to stringent immigration policies. They're not playing any games with immigration at all, legal or illegal. And he reiterates requests for increased funding to support enhanced border security and orchestrating the largest mass deportation operation in U.S. history. He also announced new reciprocal tariffs, escalating trade tensions, and called for increased border security funding. The speech highlighted deep partisan divides, with, of course, the visible Democrats' dissent and Trump's push to unify Republican support behind his policies. I just don't understand why a lot of Democrats are anti-legal immigration, but they're pro-illegal immigration. That really makes no sense, saying we're violating. Did you guys see that press conference? They had they had some mayors from different sanctuary cities. I know they had Brandon Johnson, Mayor Eric Adams. There was an Asian lady who's a mayor of a sanctuary city, and as well as a white mayor that was there. I just don't recall their names nonetheless, but they had them on a panel and they were grilling them. They were grilling them and they were tap dancing the entire time. You know, if you're wrong, you're wrong, right? Even if, again, by law, and granted, these mayors were stating that we were only adhering to our state laws. This is why I brought up, where are the governors? Where are the governors? How can a city deem themselves a sanctuary city without the governor's approval? Again, they have made politics, laws in America very difficult for the common American to really grasp and understand what the hell is going on in Capitol Hill, what is going on in Washington, what is truly going on. Because again, what protections do green card holders and foreign students have? That is the question. Let me see if I can point out some things here that PBS stated here. Take, for instance, green card holders as someone who has lawfully permanent United States residency, okay? And they go through this whole list of things. What did ICE say about why they were arresting him? Okay? But no one's really giving the law. No one's really given the law, okay? Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. If someone in the country on a student visa, the State Department does have authority to revoke if the person violates certain conditions. For example, said Florida immigration attorney John Gohan, it's quite common for the State Department to cancel visas of foreign students who get arrested for drunk driving. We get that. We understand that. What did Mohammed Khalil, who's a green card holder, and not, as far as my recollection, I'll come out with more information. Stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to Blacklogic, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be alarmed and be aware of any the time I post a video or go live. But nonetheless, he's a green card holder. I wonder, when you say, for instance, drunk driving, was he drunk driving when he was protesting on the Columbia University campus? I'm not stating what he did was right or wrong. The question here is, did he violate our immigration laws? Did he violate our immigration laws? Again, should our immigration laws be revamped and reconstruction? I agree. But currently, these are the laws that we have in place. These are the laws that we have in place, okay? And here's the kicker. But when it comes to someone who's lawful permanent resident, the general requires an immigration judge to determine whether they can be deported or not. And lastly, I'm just going to cover this last bit here. I think that's a bit too dark. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. I just want to highlight for reference as we're looking at this together. It states here, Gihan said that the next steps is that Khalil will receive charging documents explaining why he's being detained and why the government wants to remove him. So he's not yet deported. So I retract one of my statements because I thought they already deported him. So he's still in the country. But this lawyer say, as well as a notice to appear in immigration court. Generally, he should receive those within 72 hours of being arrested, and then he will make an initial appearance before an immigration judge. This could take from 10 days to a month. Now, of course, some of you guys are already thinking, this is Donald Trump's way. This is the president's way of scaring the living hell out of legal immigrants. So you don't come out and speak about nothing political. Nothing political, whether it be Ukraine, Russia, China, India, the BRICS, Israel, Palestine, Gaza. Don't speak about nothing. Hamas, shut your mouth, go to school, shut your mouth, go to work. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying they're right. They do have protections under the Constitution. But again, we have all these loopholes, gray areas, and white space in U.S. government law, and it can be taken in context and be taken out of context, but nonetheless, you may still get deported. Again, I'm not taking any side of this except for the law. Now, excuse me, China's retaliatory tariffs could take effect on U.S. agricultural products. Because again, don't forget that China owns quite a bit of farmland in America. So they can actually hurt us internally. So a lot of those Chinese farms that a lot of people are not aware of, that they bought a lot of farmland. So the two biggest farmlands, the two biggest entities that own farmland in America is Bill Gates and the Chinese. When we're talking about groups that own a lot of farmland. And we have recently stopped foreign nationals, Chinese foreign nationals, from buying farmland near U.S. military installations. That's very strategic of China. I keep telling you, people, we should never take our eyes off of China. They're very cunning. They're very witty. They're very intelligent about the way they're going to make themselves number one in the world. And we have to keep our eyes on them because they would just make you implode within yourself. Because again, we've depended on China for a lot of stuff, a lot of our products, a lot of our services, our agriculture. I'm just going to let you guys hear a little bit of this broadcast.
American agricultural products. The Chinese government is imposing retaliatory tariffs on American chicken, pork, beef, wheat, fruit, and more. Foreign correspondent Britt Clennett is in Beijing. Britt, these tariffs target American farmers, but how could this trade war affect China's economy and food supply?
Hi, Diane. Yeah, well, we have to remember that since the first trade war with China, it's really been trying to rely less on U.S. agricultural and farm goods and diverse to other countries. Remember, Diane, China is the largest trading partner of 62 countries, so it kind of does have options. But what this is intended to do is really send a message to American farmers, which, as we know, is a key support base for President Trump. This is the day coming as China's annual parliamentary session wraps up. And one of the main takeaways there of that meeting is that China really wants to focus on boosting domestic consumption to make its economy self-reliant. So that's key here to what China is trying to do, to develop the market here, which has been lagging for the last few years. The Trump administration's actions, though, it doesn't come really as a surprise to China. Officials have been preparing for new trade pressures from the U.S. for many, many months. Analysts say there are signals that Chinese officials are actually open to talking, that they kind of left a window here, like the fact that, you know, their opening round of tariffs were relatively mild and restricted and very focused on a certain number of goods. That could suggest, Diane, a strategy of avoiding escalation.
I must say that I'm very, 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 very pro-America. But I do respect the way China is handling this. I'm not stating what President Trump is doing is wrong, because he has Doge, and he's combing through all of the fraud, waste, and abuse in our American government. They've been to the Social Security, Medicaid, USAID, also known as USA. They're going through every federal department, and they're finding massive amount of fraud. Already, Elon Musk has reported that they found $500 billion in fraud. 20 million people who have passed away are still in the Social Security database receiving funds. And he stated, and I'm paraphrasing, I may not get this correct, but the biggest people who complain are those who committed fraud when it comes to Social Security. He said people only come out, make grievances and complaints when they're not receiving the money. But those who are crying the loudest are primarily the ones who are committing the fraud. But again, they have anywhere from 17 to 20 million people in the database who have passed away. And they stated that they have people over the age of 150 and over the age of 160. I haven't heard any reports in the world of anyone living over the age of, I think, 130 or something like that. And if you guys are very biblical, I believe that nobody can live, according to the Bible, that no one has lived or will live over the age of 119 or 120. But who do you know? And someone could do a quick Google search as I'm live here. Anybody live over the age of 150 in modern day times? Like, that must be the healthiest person in the world. They must be taking sea moss, black seed oil. They're drinking hydrogen water. They're only eating organic everything. They are taking up organic sun rays. I'm pun intended. But they must be the health. They must take the aloe vera plant. And this is what my grandmother used to do. I used to have bumps on my face when I was young. So my grandmother literally had an aloe vera plant in our living room. She cut the aloe vera plant, sliced it, and literally took the leaf and put it all on my face. It was slimy and sticky, but literally the next day, no bumps. So you can ask my wife, my regimen, how I clean my face. I wash my face with some organic soap, dry, and then I spray 100% aloe vera spray and just let it sit. And that's why I look as good as I do. But it was all for my grandmother. But nonetheless, there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in America, and it needs to be rooted out. And right now, I do agree and respect a lot of things that President Trump is doing. But again, I do not know if this is going to hurt American citizens later on. It may hurt us now. It's kind of like going over that speed bump. We were going fast. Oh, we got to slow down, go over the speed bump. That may hurt a little. But again, at the end of the year, we come out on top, then this was a good strategy, or even early next year. But if American inflation rises, if prices of, we already know the price of eggs is rising because of the bird flu, but if prices on groceries and gas and products and services rise significantly because of these tariffs, we need to start renegotiating some things, because at the end of the day, it is America first. But if it's hurting your pockets and things becoming more expensive, because don't forget, yesterday we talked about how American housing, or if you buying your home, again, getting closer to that American dream is far-fetched because the rising price of steel, aluminum, and wood, based upon the tariffs of all the imports of products that we get from these foreign countries. So again, this could have hurt America in the long run, but I'm no economist. So again, I have to wait for this to mature to see if it's beneficial, or wait to see if it's not. Okay, there's one more thing I want to cover here to you guys. Good morning to everyone. Let me see some of your comments. I haven't really looked at comments for a while, so let me point up some of your comments. Jacqueline says Trump is literally cleaning up a hot mess. I agree. There is no reason China should have that much agricultural land in the United States. I agree. This is Blood Pack, not in modern day times. There's a recording of former chattel slaves on YouTube, and one man said he was 145 years old. It's possible. I said 150. I didn't go down to 140. I haven't heard anyone stating that they're 150. He might be 145. But don't forget, also in those immigration records, they stated that there was someone who was like 300 some years old. They're older than the country. They lived through the Emancipation Proclamation. They lived through part of chattel slavery, the Great Migration. They lived through a lot of things. Let's just put it that way. Jacqueline says, I think he is extreme when it's with anti-diversity policy and his law enforcement support, but he definitely needs to handle this international mess, and I agree with him. Anti-diversity. You do have a point. I won't disagree with anti-diversity to a certain degree. But again, when you replace diversity, and that kind of bleeds into DEI a little bit, we have to look at we're supposed to be merit-based, meritocracy, essentially. We're supposed to be basing things on people's merits. Does America have a history on hiring and promoting people based on merit? Or has America based their promotions and job attrition to a system that elevates the majority? And I'm speaking to Caucasians, I'm speaking to white folk, more so that, take for instance, if a company, let's take for instance, is 75% white, there's a black applicant and there's a white applicant, right? Let's say, for instance, they have the same degree, they went to the same school, they got the same grades. The only difference is, let's say the black applicant has 4 more years experience at a very prestigious business where the white applicant does not have that experience. Now, based on merit, in my opinion, and then there's all these different nuances. This person had a better interview, they answered the questions better. Let's just say that all that was the same. Who do you believe will get hired? More times than not. This is my conjecture. This is the country that I know, love, and grew up in and growing up in. More times than not, I believe that the white applicant will get the fair shake of the deal and get the position altogether. That is the system that we are essentially living in. And DEI was trying to balance equality in America. And again, this did not benefit Black Americans, but it benefited H-1B visas, illegal immigrants, it benefited almost everybody. Did it benefit Black Americans? Just a little. Not as much people think. Not as much people think. Jacqueline says true, but the U.S. base it on whiteness. Okay, yeah, we agree. We agree. Now, last but not least, the Black and Brown Coalition. And I will show you my tweet. And again, I know people say this when they're trying to debunk any prejudice or racism that people may think about them, but I'm gonna fall into the stereotypical thing because I have a lot of Hispanic and Latino friends, but we're talking about illegal immigration. I want you guys to keep that at the forefront of your cerebral cortex, okay? Illegal immigration. That's what we're talking about. I want you guys to listen to this very, very quickly. And again, I want you to think about illegal immigration.
The Latino and Black communities have always been like this, and we should...
Lies. When Black Americans were fighting for civil rights, not saying this young lady here, okay, but Latinos was fighting for whiteness in America. They were fighting to be classified as white Americans. Why do you think, let me show you guys something, because I don't want to speak out the side of my neck. I'm gonna go to the Census Bureau, okay? And I'm gonna look up race, okay? This is very easy, guys. Anybody can do this. And the social media will have you guys infighting about how we look at race in America, okay? How we look at race in America. Let me see if I can pop this up. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. I might have to comb back just a bit here. Here we go. I think this is the right website I'm looking at. This is still censusbureau.gov. Here we go. Now, white, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. So already, people who are Middle Eastern are considered white, right? So Israelis, Palestinians, people from Yemen, people from Saudi Arabia, people from Qatar, people from Syria, all these people are considered white. When you come to America, you're white. You're not Middle Eastern, you're white. You're not olive color, you're white. Don't worry about it. That's your classification for America. Now, North Africa, those places like Algeria and all those places up there. What's that other place? Morocco. But don't forget, a lot of these North African countries, the northern part of them are white. Okay, when you do DNA, they have done DNA tests, they come from Europe. Okay. When you look at the lower half of Algeria, Morocco, a lot of those people are dark. I don't think they would classify them as white, even though they said people of North Africa. And don't forget, North Africa, the terminology that they use is the United Arab Emirates. So again, they almost count North Africans as Middle Easterners because, again, the Arabs came down and conquered Egypt. And now they're trying to take contributes to, the Tower of Giza, all the pyramids, all the historical artifacts. They say that was Arabs. And we know that was Nubian, melanated black folk. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to get into a history lesson. Let me go back. Black or African American, a person having origins in any of the black racial groups in Africa. A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Why don't you guys have a person having origins in any of the white racial groups in Africa? But they said the original peoples of Europe. Why do they say that? The reason why they have to say the original peoples of Europe, because the Moors, the black Moors, the Moors, okay, even though there's terminology, white Moors, but the original Moors were black. They understand that the Moors conquered Spain for 700 years. They conquered Portugal for over 200 years. So that's why they're stating that. But they said the black racial groups of Africa. Why do they say that? Because, there's a large population of white Africans in North Africa and in South Africa. Okay, let me move on. American, Alaskan, Indian, I'm going to skip. Asian, I'm going to skip. I'm going to come down. If you notice, Hispanic or Latino is not a race considered by the census.gov, considered by America. Let me move down here then. Where is it? Give me 1 second. It's usually when it comes to ethnic groups. Here we go. Let me just highlight this for you guys. Bear with me. The racial categories included in the census questionnaire generally reflects a social definition of race recognized in this country and not an attempt to define race biologically, anthropologically, or genetically. In addition, it is recognized that the categories of the race item include racial and national origin or social culture groups. People may choose to report more than one race to indicate their racial mixture, such as American Indian and white. People who identify their origin as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish may be of any race. May be of any race. That's why you hear a lot of Latinos and Latinas stating that, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. That's a nationality. That's not a race. Where you look black. Remember, what was her name? Zoe Zeldana, where was her name? Joy. I forgot her name, but she was accepting an award. And she was talking about that she finally could be part of a movie that she can speak Spanish. Spanish is your colonizer language. You look like a black woman with straight hair because you are a black woman with straight hair. What's your phenotype? What's your DNA? What's your RNA? You can be Dominican all you want. I'm American, but I'm still black. He's white, but he's still American. What are we talking about? But when it comes to Hispanics, when it comes to Latinos, because the Spanish conquered a lot of countries, okay, next to the English, they conquered a lot of countries and they raped, pillaged, and destroyed cultures on end. And in that, they destroyed a lot of Native Americans, a lot of black folk, which mixed and meshed all these different people together. Because when you go to the Dominican Republic, there's light-skinned Dominicans, there's dark-skinned Dominicans, and you can kind of see the racial mixture of what they majority is. I've seen white Dominicans, right? They look like white folk, okay? I've seen black Dominicans as dark as me. They look like black folk. They just speak Spanish, and they're from Dominican Republic. So you go to Argentina, you go to Brazil, all these European countries that came and conquered all these native people in their land. They have now taken on the image and the ideology of the colonizers from hundreds of years past. But this Latina is stating that we've always had some sort of black and brown coalition. No, we have not. There has been a majority of foundational black Americans who have been marching and protesting for equal rights that every other body have benefited from more so than we. We're the ones who were getting sprayed down with water hoses, getting hung, getting whipped, getting killed with race soldiers with badges, getting our land taken from us. Where you guys can come and you can say I'm white. She can say I'm white. I wouldn't know. Some people might, well, you can tell by her hair. You can tell by her hair. She can say I'm Italian. I wouldn't know the difference. I wouldn't know the difference. A lot of Italian women have curly hair. So again, Hispanics and Latinos, they can classify themselves whatever they want, whatever they look majority of. They absolutely can. And I've told this story before. I had an army buddy. His name was Dominguez. He had took off his shirt one time. He had all these tattoos, all these tribal Native American tattoos. I said, hey, I didn't know too much about it. I said, what are those like? This is my culture. This is my makeup. And at the time, I understood that the Spanish, the Spanish conquistadors came, robbed, pillaged, killed, raped, all these native people. He said, I'm a mixture of Tainos, Aztecians, and Spanish, but I'm Mexican. I'm gonna let her finish.
To continue staying like that. There's no reason why the two communities should be fighting. Okay, we have fought next to each other, side by side, since the civil rights movement. Okay, there's no time for beef on either side. We need to stand together, especially with everything that's going on right now in this country. So just a reminder that the Latino community and the Black community are like this always.
Yeah, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Don't get me wrong. Onesies and twosies, yeah. There are a lot of Latina brothers and sisters out there that support the Black community and acknowledge all the great things we've done in this country. Absolutely. But the massive majority of them, hell no. Absolutely not. My apologies. Lord, I hate when I hear lies that strong. Lord. She may be one of them. So she's trying to speak for everybody. You can't speak for everybody. You can't speak for everybody. I do want to show you guys my tweet. Okay, I do tweet a lot or X a lot. I don't know. This is my response to that video. This is my response to that video. I said, don't tell us. Show us when you have supported us politically, economically, and socially, the same way we have for Latinos. I spelled it Latinos, not Latinos, by the way. And I'm just waiting for a reply. This guy right here says, sit down, Maria. While your people were fighting to be classified as white, we fought white supremacy. Your weak attempt to revise history is typical and another reason why we are delineating. Pope Phoenix state translation. We've taken advantage of everything. This is him speaking for them, speaking for her rather. We've taken advantage of everything that Black people fought for, thinking sexual access was enough. Now that Black people no longer care and are holding, okay, HYON means holding your own nuts. We are in trouble. Kick rocks, Maria. Miss Stacy says, why are you lying? So you have all these Black people coming out stating that she is lying. Because when we go through some of the atrocities, even in modern day times, even in current days, we don't see Latinos and Hispanics protesting and marching the street with us. Yes, there's onesies and twosies, but again, you've seen always a massive amount of Black folk out there fighting for everybody's rights, social rights, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, Hispanic rights, Asian rights. Then at the same time, the Asians like all the Black people beating us up. There was a couple of foreigners with dark melanated skin that were attacking Asian people. And it was only like 3 or 4 incidents. And when we looked statistically, out of all the harm that Asian Americans was enduring, it was by the dominant society, not black folk. Boy, they really want to paint us as a very violent, ignorant, and dumbass people, and we're just not. Yeah. We have our 2%. Everybody has their 2%. And I've said this before. They always show our 2% more so on national, worldwide TV than the other demographics 2%. Those lowbrow of the society. And I want to again show you guys the difference between Black Americans, right? I want to show you the difference between Black Americans. I'm not saying we're better than any other demographics. Don't get me wrong. I'm not stating that. But for people who are not aware that there's a lot of Black people in America that look like us, but they come from a different culture, they come from a different country, and they conduct themselves in different activities. Let me show you something. Because of copyright, I'm not going to play the music, but I will play the visual. Look at this, family. This is straight debauchery. They're humping each other in the sand somewhere. Of course, from what I can tell by the music and some of the clothing that people have on, this looks like this is conducted in maybe the Caribbean. Okay. But again, a lot of people automatically will think that these are Black Americans, and majority of them are not. I can't speak for everybody. It may be 1 or 2 Black Americans in there, but this seems like a Caribbean party or festival right there in the sand. And they're just dry humping each other in the sand. Okay. Just showing all sorts of debauchery. No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Part of our 2%, we have that too, but not on this scale, on this level. Yeah, I know you guys are going to remember when there was a couple of Black women on top of police cars and ambulances. Yeah, we have our debauchery too. But again, we don't know where they're from. We don't know where they're from. Black Americans are some of the most American people that you will ever meet in your entire life. We celebrate the same thing. It don't matter what demographic. If you've been here more than 3 generations, you again, your family, you know some of the holidays and some of the traditional things based upon American culture, not white American culture, not Black American culture, not Hispanic American culture, but just plain old American culture. I guarantee you, in any sort of American culture, you're going to have this right here. Hold on, let me pop this up so I can. You're going to have this right here. These are Black Americans. This is the reincarnation of, this is line dancing. This is Cupid. This is the wobble. This is the electric slide. This is the dance we've been doing for damn near 100 years. This is Black American culture. This is us being civilized, having a great time. No one's fighting, no one's shooting. We're just having a great time minding our own Black business. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm not anti-anything except for anti-illegal anything. You guys have a great and wonderful day. I see you guys this evening. This is Blacklogic.